Good evening. I am ecstatic to be here tonight, the night before Juneteenth. This is a monumental moment for me. My name is Atalia Armstrong, and I am a staunch advocate for reparations. I am also a direct descendant from the institution of United States slavery, an institution that enslaved African American people for centuries without redress, without recompense, without even a true apology. 1865, Special Field Orders 15, an order handed down by General William Sherman, an order that specified that 40 acres and one mule be given to each family that was recently freed from slavery, an order that was never fully realized. In fact, it was rescinded by President Andrew Johnson and gifted to those who had went to war against their own country. In the interest of moral and ethical righteousness, there is an obligation to right wrong and anchor that obligation explicitly within policies true to the Constitution of the United States of America. Past and current day injustices make that obligation an urgent supplication for humanity. As justice delayed is justice denied. Race is often used to circumvent the why, problematic as race is constructual in foundation and does not consider, it cannot fathom the accrued disadvantages and contributions of American people. For if those considerations were at the forefront instead of race, the understanding of why reparations for African Americans are needed would be less emotional in nature and more practical in sense. The narrative has always been to reform the institutions birthed from slavery instead of transforming to include those the country never considered self-evidently equal in the first place. The plight of African American people is not happenstance, but bad policies and benign neglect. The United States government's failure to properly act during Reconstruction, Black codes, redlining, Jim Crow, war on drugs, mass incarceration, Katrina, has led to further victimization of African American people. Despite that, the contributions of African American people are vast and wide. For starters, our enslaved ancestors built the country that so many enjoy today, yet are not noted for being the infrastructural architects that they were. Inventions from the traffic light to heart surgery are often left out of the historical narratives. African Americans' influence upon music and culture thereof remains unmatched to date. And yet, African American people remain on the bottom and largely unrecognized for being major contributors to the country that is touted as one of the richest in the world. This speech doesn't even touch the surface on injustices, inequalities, and oppressive policies targeted against African American people present day. Yet we now have more data to understand what the actualized consequences from being descendant from that institution are, and how the need becomes imperative to specifically carve out political, economic, and redress spaces for those who are descended from the institution of slavery, and all the accrued disadvantages thereafter, current day. If the United States is to ever repair itself beyond the stain of slavery, it must recognize the generational harm and repair the damage. By addressing the wounds and remnants of slavery, this nation moves towards becoming more inclusive, fair, and just for all citizens of the United States. This will begin the long overdue and arduous process of healing a 402-year-old wound. Reparations is not a gift, it is a debt owed, and without it, There is no way African American people will close the 225 to 228 year wealth gap, a gap that exists because of free and forced labor. For clarity as to what that year gap means, the median wealth in New Jersey is $352,000 for white households and just $6,000 for African American households. And out of the 665 billionaires in the United States, only 8 are African American. Exceptionalism will not close this wealth gap. The only thing that will close the wealth gap is reparations. I will end with the words of Martin Luther King Jr. The next time we come to Washington, D.C., we are coming to get our check. Thank you.